Teaching yourself a new skill can be a really fun and rewarding experience, especially when that new skill is a creative one. But there's always that inevitable hard part of learning something new where you realize, I don't know what I'm doing, and what I'm making or how I'm performing is very bad. I don't know exactly how to solve for that, but I have a lot of thoughts on the matter. So that is what today's video is going to be about. Before we get very much further on this conversation, it's probably helpful for me to introduce myself, seeing as this is my first YouTube video. I am Evoma. I consider myself a writer. I am also teaching myself graphic design at the moment. I have recently picked up trumpet, which has been fun. And generally, I would just say I'm a very creative person. I'm the kind of person who will see somebody else doing something so amazingly, like their God-given talent, and I will say, I want to do that too. And then I spend a lot of effort trying to steal some of that glory. So if that's the kind of person you are, you might enjoy the conversations that we'll have on this channel that we'll do mainly with being creative, living in that creative way, the nuances of picking up a new skill that is creative, things like that. I spend a lot of my time thinking about these things, how to get better in these certain disciplines. And I don't feel as though I have enough outlets in my own life to really dive deep on these subjects. So I'm hoping that this place can be a place where we go deep on those things and there can be some community around those things. So that's my hope. If you are a person who enjoyed books like The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and even, what was that one? The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, this may be a place you like. So that's what this is. Okay, back to the conversation. We are talking about learning a new skill and getting to the hard part and wondering what to do. And to talk about that, I really want to actually talk about a learning model that I heard of a long time ago. I can't even remember where I heard this, but it's been in my head for years. And it's the 4 stages of competence. It's a conscious competence model. And so how that breaks down is this. There are 4 stages of learning a new skill. The first is unconscious incompetence. The second is conscious incompetence. The third is conscious competence. And the fourth is unconscious competence. Let me explain. 1, unconscious incompetence. This is where you don't know that you're bad at this thing. And you also don't have the skills to be good at this thing. Whether it's making something or doing something, you're approaching it without thinking at all about it. You're not aware of what may be needed to execute this thing well, but usually you're having fun doing it. That is unconscious incompetence, which I think is the way a lot of children approach things, or people who can hold on to that carefree nature in themselves approach skills like this. And it may take a long time for you to realize, oh, I don't have the skills, but in this stage, that's what it's like. Then you move into conscious incompetence, which is, I'm aware now that there are many things that I did not know about doing this thing, but I also don't have the skills to do it. So when you attempt to go do it, you can hear now how bad it sounds, or you can think, oh, this plot is illogical, or these characters are flat in 2D. I don't know how to get them to feel more real. The dialogue is, sounds fake. I don't know how to make it better. That's conscious incompetence, where you're very aware there's much I don't know, but you also still don't know how to make it better. From there, you move into conscious competence. Now you're aware, okay, this is not meeting the mark, but then you also have the skills to make it better. So you approach it in a very intellectual level. You strategize. I'm going to break it down like this. I'm going to use a 4/4 beat or whatever. I don't know music, but say if you're a music producer, you would, have a plan or a strategy to like executing it, and then you do it. You now have the skills to do it. It's very effortful. And then we have unconscious competence. And this is the fun place. This is where you learn, this skill so well that you can do it on autopilot. You're not even aware that you're doing it. Say you learn to read, and now when you're walking around, you're out and about. If somebody flashes a word in your face, you're going to read it. And you may not even be conscious that you're reading words, but you're doing it because you're that good at it. Also, say driving. Once you learn how to drive, you're very comfortable in the car behind the wheel. Driving is on autopilot. You're not even thinking about what you're doing, but you are still practicing the skill of driving a car. One thing that I really like about this model is that it doesn't so much tell you how to build the skill or speak to that. I think most people probably just hazarding a guess would say the way to build the skill is to practice the skill. But it more so talks about how it feels to be in each stage of the learning process. So I'm going to switch now to talk about how it feels to be in the conscious incompetent phase in teaching myself graphic design. Specifically, I've been focused on learning branding within graphic design. What I've been doing to practice is I go to a website that will generate a fake brief for me to practice learning how to create logos and building design systems, choosing color palettes, really getting a whole system together for a fake company. What I've been finding is that when I go to start sketching, just basic ideas, just to do basic brainstorming, say it's even just doing a word cloud, I gas out pretty quickly of ideas. And being an artist in other disciplines, I know that a quantity of ideas is going to lead to the most quality ideas. So I need to generate much, much more than just the half page that kind of comes out when I'm really trying to think of design solutions. What that conscious, incompetent stage of learning feels like is incredibly demoralizing. You are making so many mistakes, but it's not a bad thing. These aren't dire make or break mistakes. This is the time to make those so that you can learn from it and you can continue practicing until you're making less and less mistakes and building your competency. What really helped turn my thinking around here is a podcast that I was listening to. I can't remember the podcast, but I think it was a podcast because I remember it was in my ears as I was taking my dog for a walk. And basically, the person on the podcast spoke to how discouraging it can be to be in that phase of learning. And one of the things he recommended is to focus on having little wins to build your confidence. So this week, as I was thinking about being in this discouraging place with teaching myself this new skill, I kind of realized that even the first few steps of designing a brand are not skills I feel confident in. Just breaking it down, I realized that, many design projects typically start with making a mood board. And I don't think I've ever made a mood board that I felt I ate that. Like I've never made any mood board or put images together that helped inform the decisions. It was kind of like, well, I think this is kind of the vibe. And then I start working and I end up going somewhere different than the mood board would have led me to because I'm not really drawing from the mood board. So I realized maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe that's my next step. Also, in speaking about little wins, I think that maybe just focusing on like a flyer, a brochure, a email banner would actually be the kind of bite I can chew. It's funny when I think about it, when I think about the other disciplines that I'm trying to learn, it's not as though I'm trying to learn the hardest trumpet piece, a huge solo. I am starting off with whole notes, with long tones, with making sure the fingering is correct. Just these little things that I can achieve a lot easier than playing something long that I don't have the skills for and literally don't have the muscles for. When I think about my writing, I also realized that doing research, even if it's sci-fi, fantasy, which is the kind of thing I like to write, any kind of research you do will add a level of verisimilitude and just make it so much easier to just like pull ideas out. You're pulling from something and you don't have to like just make everything up. So I don't know why I thought good ideas just fall out of coconut trees for graphic design. I have to do that research, fill the artistic well so that I can draw from it when I need it. So that made more sense to me. So anyway, those are a bit of my thoughts on the subject. I feel like I didn't really say a lot. I feel like there's so much more I probably could say, but I didn't want this video to be too long. I think I wanted just like to have it short to start out with and really just open up the conversation that we can continue to have back and forth. I will say that when I did look for resources on how to move from stage to stage in this learning model, I didn't find much. So if you are already very familiar with this model and have thought about this and have your own strategies about how to move out of one stage and into the next to get to that place where it's just flowing, second nature kind of thing, I would love to hear it. Please post your comments below. If you have a discipline that you're picking up and this video has stirred any thoughts for you, I would love to hear that too. So please comment below as well. This really energized me. I love talking about this kind of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to making more videos. That is all I have for today, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.